Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Molliver. And we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're going to talk about Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So Molliver is the lawful good paladin that is in Valor's Call. So Valor's Call is the good aligned adventuring crew, right? Created by Strongheart. And Molliver is a lawful good... Molliver is a lawful good rogue. Lawful good rogue. Molliver was in the Dungeons & Dragons Saturday morning cartoon. Molliver was in XL1. Actually, Molliver is in XL1 Quest for the Stoneheart. Molliver is in XL1 Quest for the Heartstone. Molliver is not an action figure, okay? And Molliver was specifically added to XL1 Quest for the Heartstone so that both the bad team and the good team, and Molliver is on the good team, right? So that the good aligned crew would have a full set of all the roles. Now, what are the roles? It's fighter, cleric, wizard, rogue. Okay? So Molliver is not an action figure. Molliver's counterpart on the other side, on the League of Malevolence, is Zorgash. Zorgash does not have an action figure. Molliver does not have an action figure. Okay, so that's very unusual. I'm really curious of the mystery of why Molliver doesn't have an action figure. We're not sure of that. We know why Molliver was added, right? But it is interesting that I guess it was just an oversight on the LJN 1984 action figure set. Molliver does not have an action figure, which I find fascinating because there's 10 people between League of Malevolence and Valor's Call, and two of them, one good, one bad, do not have an action figure. It's very, very interesting to me. All right, so Molliver is a lawful good rogue. Pretty unusual, okay? But the most unusual thing about Molliver in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, okay, is so every other character on League of Malevolence and on Valor's Call has a gender has a pronoun that aligns with how they are visually identified, how they're visually projecting their gender, okay? So every other character on League of Malevolence and on Valor's Call is he or she. But Molliver is they, all right? So that's very interesting. I definitely support using they in IRL, and I support it in D&D. I know this is a debate among a number of people. Here's my take, right? So, one, I think it would be nice if they was not used because I do like grammar, right? Like, so, they, from a grammatic perspective, is incredibly frustrating, right? But the reason why I support using they for people who want they to be their pronoun is because this is about identity, and this is a person saying, hey, my identity is here in the mix. I want to be referred to as they, right? I think we should definitely prioritize how a person's identity is identified by us over grammar. Like, grammar is important, right? Words are incredibly important, but treating humans like humans is more important. That's my take, okay? And then the other thing that's very problematic from Dungeons & Dragons perspective is they being attached to a Dungeons & Dragons character is a record scratch. It's like, it is a record scratch because it's incredibly anachronistic, right? So it immediately removes you from the medieval theme and setting. But the reality is there's just so much on the line. There are people who are like, hey, it's important that you refer to me as they. And, be done with anachronism, be done with grammar. We need to treat humans like humans, right? So if somebody's saying, hey, I would like to be referred to as they, then I think that should be done. In the Dungeons and Dragons game, clearly Wizards of the Coast is trying to, put representation into the game, and they have a lot of fans, and some of their fans want that representation in the game, and I understand where they're coming from. So I do support using pronouns that people are requesting to be used, right? And I think it's very interesting about Molliver being referred to as the only character referred to as they. The only thing that was a little disconcerting with it is just I did find it a bit confusing. So I'm going to ask for some information if anybody knows. The one thing, a couple things I didn't really understand. So Molliver is referred to as they, right? I get that at that point, I as a dungeon master should refer to Molliver as they when I use Molliver's pronoun, right? But yeah, okay. Now, what does that tell me as far as Molliver being on the LGBTQIA platform? So, because they has been attached to Molliver, does that mean that Molliver is L or B or G or T or Q or I or A, right? And the reason why is I just haven't encountered many people who are requesting they who are not one of those letters. I think it is happening, but it's on the minority side, right? Like, generally, if people are cis, they will, from what I've experienced so far, they're not using they, right? And if somebody is saying they, they're either L or B or T or Q or I or A, right? So am I, as a dungeon master, supposed to apply that preference to Molliver? And if so, why? Because the preference didn't seem like it was in question. It didn't seem like it was relevant to any other character, right? So is it too much to apply that to Molliver, or is it taking the cue from Wizards of the Coast that, yes, you should apply this because we're giving you this clue, the they, and that should be enough for you to understand that this should not be, that Molliver is not cis? I don't know the answer to that, right? And I don't know if it's just that I don't know enough about pronouns yet to know the answer to that, or if I don't know enough about how Wizards of the Coast is using this term, or if I don't know enough about this term being used in a tabletop role-playing game context so far. So that was a little bit confusing to me. If anybody out there knows what the intent was, or even if you have a strong opinion on it and say, well, I think you should proceed forward in this DM perspective when you're dealing with Molliver, and maybe I just refer to Molliver as they, and that's it. There's no more, right? There's no more should be assumed, no more should be applied, or is this a leading indicator from Wizards of the Coast that preference is important for Molliver, where it might not have been important for other League of Malevolence or for Valor's Call. So Molliver is very interesting. Molliver is unique in that Molliver is one of the two people in League of Malevolence and in Valor's Call that is not an action figure, and Molliver is the only XL1, Quest for the Heartstone, Dungeons & Dragons, Saturday morning cartoon, action figure type character that has a special pronoun. Or actually, yeah, I would say special. They isn't, we're still, I think, overall as a culture, we're still fitting that into place and learning it. So I appreciate your patience on me just kind of working through this. I'm trying to use pronouns correctly and trying to follow lead from Wizards of the Coast. This one wasn't super clear to me. If anybody out there knows more than I do, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Molliver, very interesting character. and looking forward to using Molliver, not her, excuse me, using they at my table. So very much appreciate your patience again, just walking through this and trying to get it right. And thanks for your patience. I'd love to hear how you're planning on making sure you manage the pronouns correctly for Molliver. Boy, there's a lot there, right? So that's another one. Is like now I'm starting to think, ooh, there's a lot here, right? So I was very careful to think about this and kind of try to get it right. And this is actually my second attempt at this video, and I'm going to add a question here, right? So if somebody does exactly what I just did and accidentally misgenders Molliver, how do we deal with that if a player accidentally misgenders Molliver? How do we deal with that if we misgender Molliver at the table because we haven't locked they into our usage? One thing, of course, I apologize for misgendering Molliver. And how do you think we should manage that at the table, right? Should we just apologize to the players and then keep moving forward? What type of tolerance should we have for that at the table? Because I think it very well may happen. I think a lot of people are. I wouldn't say. Yeah, I'm curious. I think some people are going to be like me, who are still working through just getting they locked into their language set. So again, thank you for your patience. Do you have any clues for remembering this and not misgendering? And do you have any graceful ways to deal with it if you do accidentally misgender? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.